Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 business meeting of the Olympia City Council. For the record, we have a quorum with Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen excused and Councilmember Madrone joining us on Zoom tonight. So before we adopt the agenda, I would like to call forward our City Manager, Jay Burney, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Again, for the record, Jay Burney, City Manager, and I'm here to share some really great news. So, as council is aware, I just recently conducted a search for a new director of our Parks, and Recreation Department. And after a nationwide search, we realized that we had the best candidate right here already working for us at the City of Olympia. Silvana Niehauser is going to be our new Director of Parks, Arts, and Recreation Department, so we're going to start there. Silvana has been with the city for 15 years. She has grown professionally. As I've watched her grow through the department, it's been amazing. She started as a senior program specialist in the Parks, Arts, and Recreation Department, and most recently was the Director of Parks Planning and Maintenance. I've watched Silvana, and I know the council has as well, just worked seamlessly in the interim role over the past almost year, it seems like. And as I got through the interview process and finished up talking both to staff and community members that were sat on the panel, it became very clear to me what I already knew, is how well respected Silvana is both out in the community and with the staff in Parks, Arts, and Recreation. So I'm excited to welcome her as our newest director in our department. And so please join me in congratulating Silvana, and I invite her to make a few comments.
Well, thank you very much. For the record, Silvana Niehauser, Director of Parks, Arts, and Recreation. Oh, it just feels so good to say that. I'm very thankful to be selected to serve our amazing community. I work here, I live here, and I love Olympia very much. And I just feel very honored to be selected and to be able to lead an amazing department. My colleagues that I work alongside are so dedicated to this community, and they're dedicated to excellence. And I just couldn't ask for a better team, and I appreciate the opportunity to be at the helm and get some more great projects done, and I'm really excited. There's a lot on the horizon, and thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Silvana. Just keep those ears open. There might be some comments from council. So, any comments from the dais? Councilmember Gilman.
I love the parks, and I'm so excited that you're going to be at the helm. And I think the highest praise is often from the people who you lead. And I was lucky enough to sit at a parks table at the employee barbecue a month or so ago, and the whole team at the table was super enthused about your leadership and what you are all doing together. So I think that's really high praise, and I wanted to pass that along, and I'm really happy that you'll be directing our parks, arts, and recreation.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. Similarly, just echo the accolade, and it's such a cool thing. I think I told the city manager many times he knew what he needed to do, and he still went and did a national search, and you still prevailed. So that's awesome. I was thinking when I started on the city council, you were our first park ranger. Does that sound right?
That's
okay.
Right.
And now that's a robust program, and I think you might have been a pilot when we first started it. And so it's just been so great to see you grow into the position and take that leadership role. And welcome to the executive team. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Councilmember Green.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Payne. Silvana, I just want to say congratulations. I've not been on here super long, but I know in the interactions we've had, your enthusiasm for the department and the work is so obvious. And so I'm just really thrilled for you, and I look forward to seeing you continue to move your plans forward and continue your work forward. So congratulations.
Councilmember Vanderpool.
I just want to say that I have a lot of praise for what you do and all the work that you guys are doing in the parks. Parks makes me very excited about the future of the city. I'm excited about the work you're doing. I'm excited about the fact that every time I talk to you, even if it's a random encounter where I'm just carrying Charlie around like the other day, and I ask you a bunch of detailed questions and you're telling me about all the cool stuff we're doing, and that wealth of knowledge serves as well as in the city. And so I appreciate everything you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I cannot see Councilmember Madrone, so I don't know if you can hear me out there. Yeah. Okay, there you are.
Sorry, I didn't have my camera on because I don't know how big my head is up on the computer, but I'm glad you did call on me. I was like, oh, I'll just be quiet and privately tell Silvana how excited I am, even though I've already done that. But since you have called on me, Silvana, I am so excited for the city, for the parks department. The thing that I appreciate the most about you is you figure out how to get to yes. There are so many ideas that come up in terms of what we can be doing with the Parks Department, Parks, Arts, and Recreation, and you figure out how to get to yes. You're just so excited about everything that hits your desk, yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember Madrone. And don't worry, your head is proportionate to the giant screen. So, Silvana, congratulations. I know that you love this job. And you know how I know it? Because every single time I see you, I have never seen you like not smiling or not in a good mood. Never. I don't know if it's what it's like before I arrive, but when I show up to an event, it doesn't matter what's going on, you're smiling away, ear to ear. And I think that means you love what you do. I know that you and Paul have built so much trust with the community, and that started long before you stepped into this role, which is why it makes so much sense that it's a natural fit for you. So really good to see you here. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, and thanks to our city manager for picking her. All right, so with that, we're going to move on to adoption of the agenda, and I need a motion.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have an agenda. So our first item tonight is 2A, which is a special recognition of Water Resources Stewardship Calendar artists who are here joining us this evening. But first, I'm going to call up our presenters, Erin Conine, our Senior Program Specialist, and Susan McCleary, our Associate Planner, for a few comments.
Good evening, Mayor Payne, council members. I'm Erin Conine, Senior Drinking Water Specialist in Public Works.
And I'm Susan McCleary, Associate Planner in Public Works Water Resources.
We're happy to be here again for the 7th time to recognize the middle school students whose artwork was selected for our 2026 Water Resources Stewardship Through Art calendar. We have a ton of fun with this project as it helps us bring awareness to stormwater pollution prevention and water conservation best practices in a creative way. For the contest, we developed key stewardship messages and solicited entries from public, private, and homeschooled middle schoolers in Olympia. After the artwork was selected, we added supplemental information to the key message for each month. We're happy to have some of these students here with us today and appreciate them helping us spread the word on these practices and to thank them all for their participation.
So without further delay, we'd now like to introduce the student artists that were able to join us tonight. And students, when I call your name, will you please stand? Navya Kandawal. And this was for Bay It and Trash Pet Waste. Addie Kane for Don't Let the Water Run. Emily Edwards for Only Rain Down the Storm Drain. Sarah Shimoji for Fix Leaky Faucets. Eva Moore for Don't Be a Hoser, Use a Broom. Henry Bing White for Practice Bee-Friendly Yard Care. Amelia Gregoria, Water Landscapes Early or Late. Adelina Hernandez for Bagot and Trash Pet Waste. Ashti Basali for Use a Commercial Car Wash or Wash on the Lawn. Gaia Alphonse for Don't Let the Water Run. Robin Burnham for Rake a Drain. Indigo Coyotes for Take Shorter Showers. And Miles Thomas for Don't Drip and Drive, Fix Vehicle Leaks. So we'd like to thank all of you, the students, for their contribution to our 2026 calendar. And we want to let everyone know that calendars will be available here at City Hall, and we'll also be dropping off calendars at your schools. And now we'd like to ask the council if they have any comments or questions.
Thank you both so much. Can we give everyone, all of the artists, a round of applause? Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Green.
I just want to congratulate all of the artists on this and give a big shout out and a thank you. I know participating in stuff like this as a parent of a recent middle schooler can be a little daunting, and so kudos to all of you. There's some really fantastic stuff in here, and you may not realize it right now, but in like 40 years, when your parents still have a copy of this and give it to you, you're going to feel even more special. So just congratulations again, and thank you to all of you, and special shout out to our Reeves students. As a Reeves parent, I'm just really excited to see that. So.
Councilmember Madrone.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't be there in person. I love this evening, this annual event that we have in council chambers, and I look forward to receiving mine when I thank you, Robert. It is there on the dais waiting for me. I just always appreciate the artwork and the creativity, and I did literally laugh out loud with the Don't Let the Water Run artwork.
Thanks. Any additional comments? Councilmember Vanderpool.
I have one of these in my office at work, and every so often someone will come by and be like, this is awesome. Where did you get this at? So I want you all to know that this work that you do is much appreciated far and wide throughout the community, and thank you all for doing this.
Yeah, so I'm going to second what, Councilmember Green said about being a parent to a young student. Mine isn't in middle school quite yet, but she will be soon. And it's really special that you have your parents here, and hopefully you have teachers that are supporting you back at school for what you do. And like she said, you're going to come back and look at this, and hopefully you'll see how much your work has grown. And hopefully you'll see it throughout our community, because this is a city that's all about the arts, and you're already getting started here with this calendar. I have to point out that October, not just because it's the month we're in, it's my birthday month. And ironically enough, it's Rake a Drain, and I just did that on my birthday. Woohoo. And it was covered with leaves again the next day, so I've got my work cut out for me. Until the leaves come off of the trees. But I so appreciate this, and you're sending important messages. In fact, the city does have a Rake the Drain program that we want community members to adopt the drain and keep it clear so that our runoff can make it to the drains. So you're sending messages that are important to our community members, not just creating art. So we thank you for that. So can we have everybody who's here to celebrate the artists and your families come up, and we'll join you for a photo.
Yeah, and we can have the teachers come up as well. Is that fine?
Absolutely. Okay. Teachers too, everybody. And just so you all know, we have a very short agenda, and you are the highlight of our night, so thank you so much. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to public comment. We have just a couple folks signed up in person and then one online. We'll begin with those who are here in person. You have spoken in the last 30 days, so we'll go ahead and skip the spiel and just call up Mr. Burgess to the podium for your comments.
There we go. We got to quit meeting like this. I don't like coming up here. I got serious air quality issues where I'm at 1309 Fern Street. And like I said previously, I had 18 months. They said, call Puget Sound Energy if you smell something funny. So they wanted me to call Olympia Fire Department to come out. I would be declared a nuisance. Somebody decided they were going to poison me with diesel fuel for like 18 months. It was really, really bad. And so I came here a few times, and I had the pro tem mayor wanted to get in touch with me, and I didn't stick around for the comment thing. I still want her to try to get in touch with me. I'm on the housing voucher program. My telephone number is 1-360-485-3632. My email is saxonjade333@gmail.com. I'm at Chantilly Secondary School alumni. Richard Burgess, that's Facebook. I just want the years turned now into really intense paint, and I think it's deliberate. There's people there that don't want me there, and hopefully I can get a place at like Patterson Place. I'm on the housing voucher program. My place is a mess. I'm a mess. I've got an inspection coming up. I'm trying to do best I can to get everything together. And all I'm asking for is just normal air. And I'm not receiving normal air where I'm at. And maybe I can relocate somewhere better. Hopefully the air can clear up. And that's all I'm looking for. I'm on housing voucher program. I'm good people. I'm an honest, law-abiding citizen. So thank you very much, and hopefully we won't have to keep meeting like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. So I'm going to go ahead and call forward Todd Monahan.
Mayor Payne, here I thought I was going to be your highlight of the evening, but I understand. Councilmen and women and Mayor Payne, 2 pages, some odd data that I'd like to share with you because it's so unique. On the page number 1, there's a little number on the bottom right-hand corner. Let's look at that. It has two parts to it. On the left-hand side, if you were to buy today, the median priced house, $545, 3-bedroom, 2-bath here in the city of Olympia, and you were going to own or occupy it, this is what it would look like for you on that left-hand side. So we got acquisition cost and some move-in cost and the mortgage and all that added up. It's going to cost you about $5,000 a month to live in that house. That's assuming you're saving aside some things for maintenance and all the things that come up. If you were to rent that same house, that's what the next column over there is. The cost, you got some acquisition costs because you got to apply for it and those types of things, and probably some moving cost. But the rent's going to be about $2,600 a month. The total monthly cost to live in that same house for rent is about $3,000. That's your utilities and all the things there. In all my time, the reason this came up is because I was talking to my daughter. She lives in Arizona. Should we buy a house or not? That's what she was talking about, her and her partner. And we were looking at this, and I'm like, wow, that's very similar to Olympia. Very similar to what we're seeing across the nation right now. The cost to own a house is way disproportional to the rent, to rent that same property. So I've never seen it in all my years. I've started about 40 years ago, actually, with my first rental. I accidentally kept one in Seattle. And it costs about 40% more right now to own a house than it does to rent that same home. I've never seen it that wide. On the back,
Sorry, Todd, I don't mean to interrupt. We seem to be having some issues with our timer, but you're about a minute in, so we'll give you
okay,
one more minute. Yeah.
that's fine. Well, flip it over to page 2, because there's some implications then for people investing. So if you were an investor and you came into town and you bought that same median-priced house, what would you expect? You'd have different acquisition costs, because you have to put more down, and you'd have some improvements probably to make it. And it would cost you about $4,600, $4,700 a month to own that house and to lease it out. And your income would be the $2,600 or $2,595, as I've put down here. You'd be negative about $2,000 a month. Negative investment return for yourself. So that has implications, obviously. You all have struggled with housing policy and what we do with rentals, and over half the people in Olympia rent. But this is a challenge for people who might want to invest. And so we're not seeing that type of investment in single-family homes. Multifamily is a little bit different, as you know. But I thought it was so illustrative for me to take a look at this, because I do it every once in a while anyway, just as somebody who's in the business. But for my daughter, I said, no, you should wait. You should rent. It's a better deal. Save the money. For goodness sakes, I hope she does. But, you know, that's a lot, a couple $1,000 a month. You can save a lot of money to rent right now, because it's so much cheaper. What you all should know is that gap will not stay that way. It'll close, and it's probably a combination of two things. The sales prices will come down, and the rents will go up. So then that's what we're seeing around the nation right now. Just thought I'd share it with you.
Thanks, Todd. Sorry, it hasn't gone off yet, but that's your time. But thank you for sharing this. Are there any comments from council? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do still have one online. Thank you, Councilmember Gilman. So at this time, you might stick around. There could be some response after. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and call Larry Jezza forward.
Great. Can we share the screen too?
We can hear you, Larry.
Can we share the screen as well?
We
Okay.
cannot share the screen.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, I was very surprised to learn that the city would be terminating the glass and cardboard recycling at the downtown site. When I asked others using the site this weekend if they knew about it closing, they said no, and they were surprised and disappointed. The city did not do a good job communicating this removal of service from the public. But I was especially surprised because on the night of the council approving the sale of the Plum Street property, the city manager said he was confident that all the programs and services would be relocated. He said,
I am confident we will have a solid plan in place for relocation of all these programs and services within the 18-month leaseback period.
Larry?
Yes.
Are you there?
yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we hear you.
Okay, you weren't able to hear the recording, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, if I could get my time back, that'd be great. Okay.
Sure.
What he said was that we would have all the services and programs maintained and continued at that meeting before you took the vote to the sale of the Squaxin. If I heard that the city spent $2 million to put more parking lots in downtown and also eliminated recycling opportunities for the average resident, I wouldn't believe they were talking about the city of Olympia. This is the opposite of your stated values. It doesn't align with the city's climate goals or its planning goal to reduce the amount of downtown land dedicated to parking. It's the exact opposite of priority-based budgeting. City is making $8.2 million from the land sale and taking away services that many Olympians rely upon. Driving to the county dump at Hawks Prairie is not relocating services. The West Side location doesn't take cardboard, and telling us we don't need the service disrespects the people who use it regularly. This is not a budget-cutting necessity. The services are completely paid for from our user fees. Bottom line, the city should start looking to purchase or lease sites to continue these recycling services. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. So that concludes public comment for tonight. Before we go ahead and call Mark Russell forward, who is our Public Works Director, I believe, who will be able to provide some response to Mr. Jezza's inquiry. Are there any other comments from council? Councilmember Gilman, followed by Councilmember Cooper.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mr. Burgess, I hope you find better air. And Mr. Monahan, thank you for sharing this analysis. This is actually a conversation we were having with our kids also about this moment. And it's a conversation I absolutely feel like we just have to continually have as the market and the world change around us to make the policies smart. And Mr. Jezza, I know that the conversation about glass recycling is not over yet. So I appreciate your speaking up tonight.
Yes, Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. Yeah, thanks, Todd. I'll echo that. I just recently was reading an article, and I'll see if I can find it and send it to you, but it was about a country in Europe where the ownership rate is only like 40%. And when I read it, I thought, that's kind of weird. But the outcome of that is people invest the difference, and they have wealth when they want to buy whatever property they want later in life. Like, there's almost no poverty. And so it's kind of being house poor is just way too common in our society. And so I appreciate you showing that picture.
Thanks. Any additional comments? Okay. Thank you for sharing this with us, Todd. I can't say I'm all that surprised. I just saw something the other day that was talking about how there are more sellers than there are buyers these days, and this is exactly the reason why. It's enlightening to see the actual breakdown of the numbers as to how that pans out and why it is. You know, obviously, I think we are a city of majority renters, but we do have a aspiration to have more people obtain the dream of owning a home someday. So I appreciate you sounding the alarm bells about what this means in terms of their own personal investments and what might be more strategic for them to do in this particular moment. So thanks for bringing this to our attention, and it's obviously something we'll continue to think about. Even though we don't drive the market, there's things that we can do to support people who are having the difficult choice of whether to make this decision to rent or own in this moment. So thanks. And at this time, I'm going to call forward Mark Russell for his comments to Mr. Jezza's inquiry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, I'm Mark Russell, Public Works Director. As you know, the site where the Saturday waste drop-off and cardboard and glass recycling has been sold, and staff across the city has been working for months and is continuing to work to look to relocate everything on that site. It's not just the recycling. There's numerous things that are on that site that we've been working hard to try to relocate. Unfortunately, Waste Resources has not been able to find another site that's practical for glass recycling, especially, and for cardboard recycling. We have looked back in 2019 when glass was taken out of our mainstream recycling at your house. We checked with some businesses, we checked a different places around the city, and there just was not interest in having that. So we were lucky enough to have a city-owned site like the old fire training pad where it is now, and so we opened that up to do that work. My team and Waste Resources did, when we knew this was going to happen, we did look around and had several meetings about whether or not we could find another place to relocate. Things have changed. Regarding the Saturday waste drop-off, we've checked with Department of Ecology, and there would be, if we were to find another site, we would have to go through a different permitting process than we did years ago. It just is a lot to do, and it would likely require a lot of improvement to manage that. Regarding cardboard and glass, Those take a lot of space. Unfortunately, it's not just as simple as put a dumpster in a parking lot and walk away. Our experience with unstaffed locations is it results in illicit behavior. It results in waste not being recycled correctly. Contamination ends up being in the drop boxes and so on and so forth. So we were lucky at the 10th Avenue or the Justice Center site because that is a city site. There's staff in and out of there all the time doing stuff, so it cut down on that. But our experience with other unstaffed locations is it just doesn't work. And we've heard that from the community too. We've tried to put these facilities at businesses or churches or things like that in the past, and they've asked us to remove them because of those types of things. So we did make a concerted effort to think about and look around to see if we could find another site, and we just couldn't. So we made the decision to close that site and to address the public outreach. It is on our website. It was just put into the 5 things that is going out in the utility bills as we speak. They're just starting to get out in the community, and we posted signs at the drop site so that people that are using that now are notified. So that's how we're doing the notification. It's just starting. And we normally close the Saturday drop-off site at the end of the fall, so that is why we're notifying people now, so that as they're using that site with leaves and things right now, they know that it won't open again next year. And then glass and cardboard we're going to take into after the first of the year, get through the holiday season when those types of uses are high, and then close that down in early 2026. So that's our plan right now. We do have other alternatives, albeit not in the downtown like this particular site. There is the Waste and Recovery Center on the east side out at Hogan Bay that takes glass, cardboard, and all sorts of things. On the west side, there is the Yager Park facility that we have glass at. And then there's also concrete recyclers on the west side as well that takes glass. So there are alternatives for the community to use. I first to admit it may not be as convenient as the site we have, but we just have not found a practical site to relocate that today. Certainly cardboard can go into the curbside recycling, so that's less of an issue, but glass, as you know, cannot now. Glass is a tricky thing. It's probably one of the best things to recycle, but there's just not a market for it. And so you've probably heard up in Seattle, they're shutting down those processing plants, and most of our glass is actually ending up in the landfill or the garbage anyways, if they can't use it for other purposes. So it's a tough one. It's a great thing to recycle. We want to recycle it. The market just is not aligned. That's why several years ago, as you know, we took it out of the mainstream recycling. So those are the alternatives. It's not ideal. It is a little bit further away, but that's our plan at this point in time for recycling.
Thank you, Mark. Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. Mark, when is that going to close? When will it close?
The Saturday waste drop-off.
The cardboard and glass.
The cardboard and glass will close at the end of January, February timeframe after the holidays, where we see that use pick up. We thought we would shut it down at that point.
Okay. Yeah, and I think probably that's knowing the volume better than me, but like thinking about whether there's a way we can come up with a temporary solution for future holidays, seasons when the volume is a lot higher. And then I just want to make sure that when we're investigating this more, that we're thinking about reasonable alternatives that include the emissions from going to Hogan Bay. We need to consolidate those loads and try and send them in bigger loads, not in personal vehicles if we can. Right. Obviously there's trade-offs in this whole conversation, but I kind of wonder if there's an opportunity in the near future to get the council into study session to talk a little bit more about the recycling system in our community and how it continues to get more and more unwieldy and how we can better meet the solid waste needs of the city.
Thank you, Councilmember Cooper. Ron Jones, our interim waste resources director, has a lot of information on that. So if the council is interested on how that market is changing and what we're up to, we could certainly schedule something in the future at your liking. So.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Councilmember Cooper. Councilmember Vanderpool.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving us an answer on the update on this. I am also curious, I'm sure you have checked with them, but I'm not certain, but I'm fairly certain that the county purchased the property across the street on Plum Street not that long ago, or they're going to. I'm just curious if we looked at some of our partners in the community, other governments, to use space that they own in the temporary to whether it's land that the school district owns that's vacant, or the county, or so on and so forth. I'm just curious the extent of temporarily using the spaces.
The county hadn't purchased that particular site when we first were looking around. We certainly could continue to look around and see if there, especially with Councilmember Cooper's idea of maybe some temporary peak times of year use, we can certainly do that. But in the past, when we've reached out, there's been an unwillingness to accept that because of the mess that goes along with it if it's unstaffed. Sometimes there's illicit behavior that happens. So when we've reached out to property owners in the past to sponsor that type of a thing, they've been reluctant to do that for various reasons. So, but we can continue to look around and see if there's some site that is busier and that type of thing would be better than a vacant or a parking lot that isn't staffed, because again, it's hard to control what happens there. What was fortunate about the site we had on 10th is city staff was in and out of there all day long. So, but those are great ideas. We can continue to look around. We just haven't been successful yet in that.
Thank you. I get concerned about losing that service downtown, particularly for folks that live near the downtown. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Mark, I just wanted to ask for clarity because earlier you were saying that folks have been asking you to remove some of these locations. So who exactly, are we talking about businesses and residents? Who are we talking about?
So this was a while ago. It wasn't just recently, but for example, we reached out to the Capitol Mall to see if they would sponsor a drop. They have a huge parking lot, and if they would sponsor that particular location, and they didn't want to, for various reasons.
I see.
That's just one example that I have at the top of my head.
Okay. All right, I'm just thinking of the conversations I'm going to have when I go home, and I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about our businesses and our residents who are going to be impacted, who are also going to see a tax increase and then have this inconvenience that I don't think is timely at all. And so I'm very interested in having a deeper conversation with my colleagues on council about where we go from here, because this is not ideal. Yeah.
And Mayor, if there is a business or nonprofit or church or something that wants to do something like that in their parking lot, we're all ears. If someone wants to reach out and offer to do that, we're certainly welcome to entertain that and see if we can work something out. So if you do hear in your conversations or people listening tonight, we're certainly open to hearing that if there is a business or nonprofit that would like to sponsor a glass recycling location at their particular. We would probably have some contracting and legal issues and risk issues to work out, but it could be a start. So.
Thank you, Mark. City Manager Bernie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some added context. I know the council knows this, and You know, as we sold the site to the Squaxin tribe, we have an 18-month window to get all of our assets off that property. And so we have a very constrained window. And so we did feel pretty confident in the beginning of our ability to kind of tackle all these things. And as Mark alluded to, as the waste staff just got further into this, we learned a lot more as the further we got into what permitting looks like and what size of piece of property we would need. So I think what we're really saying is, for now, within this limited 18-month window we have, it's going to be difficult for us to locate and permit and site a new facility. And so I think this idea of a future council study session to really dig into kind of our recycling and where we are, and then maybe talk about what our other options are. And we'll continue to discuss that at a staff level and look at other alternatives here. It's just the window we're in is what's constraining us with timeframes. So I wanted to add that for context. I think it's important here.
Thank you, Jay. Are there any other questions or comments from Mark? All right, thank you, Mark. Okay, so that concludes our public comment portion of our agenda. So we'll move on to adoption of the consent calendar. But before we do, are there any requests for comments or questions for pulling items on the consent calendar? Seeing none, I need a motion.
I would move to adopt the consent calendar.
Second.
All those in favor of adopting the consent calendar as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent calendar is adopted. So that concludes the adoption of our agenda for tonight. We don't have any additional business, so we'll just move on to council reports. I'll begin with a brief or high-level mayor's report and try to capture just a few highlights over the last month, because we haven't been able to really do reports because we've been having some pretty lengthy meetings. So I want to mention that a few of you council members have asked me about, Sanctuary City Coalition and whether or not there's local entities coming together with maybe even the state to talk about our status as a sanctuary jurisdiction and what that means for the in terms of federal government action, and whether or not we're prepared for that type of response. The city manager has been attending weekly, bi-weekly meetings with the governor's office on federal policy updates, and I join those as well when I can. And in those meetings, there is quite a bit of updates, not even just on our status as a sanctuary jurisdiction, but even on things like the current shutdown. And so the city manager and I are keeping a pulse on those things. There's a lot of interfacing between the governor's office and the attorney general on this. I had written and sent a letter to the governor's office suggesting that there be some sort of coalition around this, and this was their response to that request via the letter. So I just wanted you all to know that that I did initiate that, and that was the response that I received. And that was sent to both the governor and the attorney general's office as well. I had the privilege of doing a downtown walk through with Congresswoman Strickland last month, along with Desiree Freeland from the ODA, and along with folks at Intercity Transit, where we visited our transit station down here and downtown, and also took a stop at Union Gospel Mission and visited Orca's Books. And just did a walkthrough of, what are some of the challenges we're facing in our downtown currently on a variety of things that actually rise all the way to the level of at the national level. So increased homelessness and the effects we're having on the effects that the current federal administration is having on cities like ours. And so it was very important for the Congresswoman to hear what some of our challenges and concerns are. Like, for example, that increased presence that we see in our downtown of houseless folks during, particularly in summer months. We also see that folks are more burdened by the cost of living, and there's evidence of that right here in our city. And so it was important to do that walkthrough with her, along with the ODA, to really be able to just have her ear on what some of those things are like for us in this current moment. So I appreciated the Congresswoman coming and the Olympia Downtown Alliance for hosting that event. Had a wonderful time doing a Return to Evergreen panel, as an alum, to visit the college and talk about, obviously my experience as an elected official, but what it means to organize community in these really challenging times, and what that looks like and how that's different now. And so it was a really welcoming and opportunity to go and see a lot of folks that I haven't seen in years. So it was nice to get to do that. And I always appreciate going. And then I also had a conversation with some folks about internship coordination. I know that we've had some interns from the college before. I used to be one. I was an intern in CP&D back in the day when I was a student at Evergreen under Anna Schlecht. And it would be nice if we could solidify some sort of ongoing plan to have internship opportunity for students coming out of the college so that there's a regular rotation of that. I know we occasionally have folks, but I'm not sure how consistent that is. So that'd be nice to have something like that. And then we also had a wonderful time at Indigenous Peoples Day. I was there with Councilmember Madrone and Councilmember Vanderpool and City Manager Bernie, who also provided some remarks, and we shared the proclamation and greeted everyone. The turnout was wonderful, and it's just always nice to be in that space and in that park. You can literally feel the history and the energy, and so it was a great celebration. Before I had to skedaddle back to my next meeting, but always a fun time. I do want to mention just really briefly that also last month it just occurred to me, based on public comment, is the celebration of the Recycling Reform Act. Last legislative session, I spoke at the press conference about how it was a priority for the city. The Recycling Reform Act was on our legislative agenda for a number of years. Finally got it through, I believe, after 6 legislative sessions. And so it was successful in that regard. And it puts some responsibility on extended producers and creates a program for extended producer responsibility for recycling. And so it was nice to be able to finally celebrate the passage of the bill up at Gasworks Park in Seattle. And so it was nice to be invited and to represent the city in that celebration because that's an important thing for us to support. So I will start to my left with Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. This is the first time I've been all the way on the left, and that has a lot of meanings. My main report out will be on Joint Animal Services Commission. So since the last time we really did report outs, there was some moments of high community engagement and some stuff that was going on with Joint Animal Services. Particularly, there was a period of time the county was considering exploring a pretty significant decrease to their budget. So just as a reminder, and for folks who don't know, Joint Animal Services, there's 4 partners in the funding agreement, and it's the 3 cities and the county, and we all pay a fee based just on per capita. And their service numbers align really closely with that. So Olympia is about 20% of that fee, and when you look at their service calls and things provided, we're about 20% of that. So that tends to play out. So The county was considering reducing their portion of the fee, which is the largest portion that they receive, to the county's, to the community's credit. There was a lot of folks who spoke up in defense of that, recognizing that that would be a significant hit to the operational budget of this team that runs, doesn't just do field calls, but also operates the shelter, adoptions, all of that. So the county did step back from that. We had our initial budget conversation as a commission just last week, maybe the week before. Time is very fuzzy. Just for your awareness, we'll see their final budget recommendation, but what the commission recommended was for assessments to stay flat this year. So it was the expenses for Joint Animal Services have gone up by at least 9%, but in recognition that all of us are dealing with pretty difficult budget situations, they feel they can cover a little more than normal from their reserves, keep those assessments flat. So that is what should be coming forward. The county in their initial preliminary budgets had approved that, a flat amount from what they paid last year. So hopefully that gives them a little bit of certainty coming into their operational planning for next year. So more to come on that as the final budget is approved and part of our budget and all of that. I know the city manager is already tracking on all of that. And then a couple of good news things that came out from that. Just a huge kudos to the team at Joint Animal Services. Over the last couple of years, they've added some in-house medical staff, recognizing that veterinary care is both hard to find in the community for everybody, as well as costs are increasing. So they made some decisions over the last couple of years to bring in a vet primarily to do spays and neuters, but also to do some medical services that they can do in-house, as well as some support staff. So in 2025, they have done 90% of their spay and neuters in-house. And 90% of all their other medical treatments in-house. So it's been just a huge success, really minimized their need to transport animals to a clinic, pay at a clinic. There's still certain procedures that they just simply can't do. They don't have an x-ray machine and won't have room for an x-ray machine. So there's things like that that they'll continue to go out for. Yes, long-term, they're gonna have a lovely facility with lovely x-ray machines. But so that was a big kudos. And then the two just nods to the community. One is just a reminder to folks and to the city that one of the things we need to continue to encourage pet owners to do is license their pets. And so that is something to be aware of. And then right now, literally starting today through November 1st, they are having, Joint Animal Services is doing a special adoption event called Howl-O-Ween. Get it? So from now through November 1st, adoption fees for cats and dogs are going to be $31. And that is my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Green? I'll just say thank you for being so diligent on this issue. We did just meet with 3 cities too, and we had a conversation about the communications around what happened with their decision, and so we had a much broader conversation actually about communicating to the city, specifically because they are having to make such tough choices right now with their budget, that with anything that has potential implications for us, that those things are communicated as quickly as possible, and that we're given as much notice as possible as to exactly what is happening. That conversation was well received. And so just want you all to know that conversation was had at 3 cities specifically because of this issue with Joint Animal Services. So thanks. All right, Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. A couple of things. So the first one is last week, the Lodging Tax Advisory Council met. Our 5-person committee reviewed the most applications ever, 38 for around $2.8 million. We made right around, I don't have the list in front of me, we'll get it. It's in the finance packet from last night if you'd like to look at that. But it's around 20 fundies for just over $1 million, and we'll leave around $500,000 in the reserve for LTAC. I'll have a few more things to say when that agenda item comes forward. Second is and this is going back a few weeks, the Opioid Abatement Council met, another reflection from the county commissioner's budget. They've decided that they need to take $1 million off the top of the opioid abatement funds to pay for opioid replacement therapy in the jail because they don't offer all of the drugs the Department of Health says that they have to offer. Even though people don't pay for those drugs out on the streets, they still have to pay for them in the jail, apparently. So, but we'll work on that. And I talked to Commissioner Grant at length about it, and she actually thinks that they could bring the people down to the Purple Building downtown to get their medicine. But we talked about making sure that those programs are monitored and watched and maybe even administered by public health with those funds. The Abatement Council in the master agreement is really just reporting to the public that the money was spent right and not necessarily checking to see if it was spent right and that it was on budget. But we have directed to move forward with some adjustments to the interlocal agreement. We'll need some minor modifications, and that should be coming to council pretty soon. And then we directed staff to go ahead and get the request for proposals ready, and so it can go out in November, right after our November meeting, hopefully, so we can start getting requests for proposals in, so we can get some funding out on the street. I don't know, Jay, do we have a date for the interlocal yet?
I was just talking to Mark about that, so I think Mark's completed his review and has some few things I'm gonna look at, and then the other cities in the county are looking at through their legal teams as well. In fact, I just got a text about it, or email about it from Tumwater City Administrator today, just checking in where everybody is. So I'm hopeful that we can all finish our reviews here in the next week or two, and then we can get this circulated to the bodies for approval.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the committee just wants to start getting money out as soon as possible. And then the last thing is, late yesterday and today, I've heard a lot of things around the federal government shutdown, and if we go past the 1st of November, we may not see WIC benefits and maybe not SNAP benefits. And in particular, WIC, I just wondered if, I was hoping that 3 cities was like tomorrow, because I feel like there needs to be a cities and public health conversation about what happens if we don't have WIC in our community. And I know the city manager is working on my last comment, so I'm just going to repeat this. We need to know if there's an emergency plan around WIC if those benefits aren't available in November because the federal government shutdown is going to go past the. What I heard was that if it goes past the 1st of November, there won't be WIC benefits and maybe not SNAP benefits. And I feel like that's a reason for an emergency meeting in our community. I asked my lobbyist at work today if the legislature was talking about an emergency session, and he said that he didn't think that they would be able to act fast enough to do anything before payments wouldn't be, because we're talking about 10 days from now at this point. And so anything that they would or could do for cleanup may actually be after the 1st of the year. And boy, doesn't it seem like after 3 weeks they could have just negotiated a full budget to operate the federal government? That's what we would have done, right? Anyway, so that's my comments today. Thank you.
Thanks. That's what we have to do by law. Any questions?
Go home on New Year's Eve.
Nope. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Cooper? Councilmember Madrone, followed by Councilmember Vanderpool.
Yeah, I'm curious about the idea of there being some kind of emergency meeting if, SNAP or WIC should run out. And I'm not exactly sure if you mean like an emergency meeting of the city council to figure out a plan, or an emergency community meeting. And if that is the case, I think there's a lot of stakeholders that we should, be engaged with if something happens around that, such as the food bank. They are the first that came to mind for me.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Councilmember Drone. I really meant with our city and county partners and our neighbors to see if there was anything that we should and could be doing, like the several items you just suggested, which I thought were great ideas. So.
Thanks. Councilmember Vanderpool.
Councilmember Madrone beat me to it. There's also not just what you're talking about, Councilmember Cooper, but there are food systems that the federal government operates on that go to food banks that have been canceled essentially. That food supply that the federal government buys and then gives to food banks and regions. That is a lot of, I forget how much, but it's a significant amount of it has been canceled, and so. We could be in a situation where people don't have services, go to the food bank's overrun, and they don't have anything, right? And so I'm interested in this conversation too, as long as we bring in the partners. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Madrone, did you have something else?
Yeah, that's a new hand.
Okay.
In my last conversation with the food bank, like aside from all this government shutdown stuff, they're looking at 20 to 25% reduced food that they receive from the federal government to distribute to the community. And that's compounded by the fact that a lot of people, regardless of the government shutdown, are going to be losing SNAP benefits because of the BBB bill. One of the things that we have coming forward through our comprehensive planning process is a goal for a food system plan for the city. It's something that Tumwater's been working on. So, that doesn't address the immediate need looming with November 1st. But if people are interested in putting some energy behind this, I'm definitely very interested.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilmember Cooper. Jay and I will talk about what this could look like and bringing this back to the county. The last 3 cities meeting, we just covered opioid abatement, and your update was consistent with what I heard there, so I won't repeat that. But we did have a conversation about economic resilience. And we even did some reflecting on what 2008 was like and whether or not we're all, prepared for this sort of moment. But what you're talking about is more specific within the context of something much broader, which is the economic resilience piece. So, and it's more urgent. November 1st is like 2 weeks away. So thanks for bringing that to our attention. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. Boy, as somebody whose grandma thought the commodity cheese tasted good, yeah, those big blocks, oh my. But we want to have them on the shelves in the food banks. And I actually heard from a constituent this week that the shelves were relatively empty when they made their visit this week. In comparison to other weeks. So yes, that's all real. So at the city, we're not going to do any kind of continuing resolution. We have a budget on its way. And I just, last night at Finance, we had 2 conversations. One was to hear from each department that has a special revenue source and budget. So that was the utility rates, the general facility charges, impact fees, Inspire Olympia, lodging tax, the PBIA, parking and business improvement area, and the housing homeless response program, and particularly the home fund budget within that. So it was really encouraging for me that we both heard that we can continue to deliver the services. And we heard about the really tough decisions that in many cases it's staff doing more with fewer staff. It's some staff being laid off and some less program resources to operate on. So I think it's an earnest and tough budget that will allow us to continue to deliver the services and programs that we understand the community expects. And then we just affirmed our understanding of what came out of last week's study session that will be coming to us and to the community as a budget proposal, which was the council is supporting the 0.1% public safety sales tax. We're supporting a business and occupation tax increase to move all categories except for retail to 0.002, to move retail to 0.0015, and to set the threshold for not having to file the tax or pay the taxes to $500,000. Support for use of the real estate excise, the REIT tax income, $1.5 million for a one-time use this year, which will allow us to get going on our public safety hiring and improvements before we begin to collect the revenues from that public safety sales tax. And the $1.2 million in reductions that the city manager had laid out and we discussed last week. So I wanted to offer that as that's where we're headed. And on the next 3 council meetings, the 3rd, 10th, and 17th, I believe, they each have a public hearing where the community will have an opportunity to both listen to our presentations and make comment if they'd like. And so that's the big thing. But I want to tell you one fun thing also that came up in a community conversation on Friday night. And that was a conversation that veered into how much the people in the room valued neighborhood elementary schools as the hub of their neighborhoods. And questions about ways that the city might formally strengthen our relationship with those elementary schools as community gathering places. I know we've thrown some great events, and we have the walking school bus and we have a few events, but that was it was an interesting way to think about existing community centers where hundreds of people already come together, and what might we do as the city to strengthen our presence and make those even more impactful hubs for the community. So that was just wanted to pass that along because that was a nice moment on Friday night. So
That's great. Makes me think of that show, Abbott Elementary. I don't know if anybody's ever watched it. Councilmember Vanderpool, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, comment. You know, I like this thought about the schools because most of them are parked in the middle of our neighborhoods, right? And that's the benefit of having that neighborhood schools rather than it being off. You know, some school districts it seems like it's over on the edge of town and it's all one big building, right? Like a warehouse. And, you know, I appreciate that thought process because it's no surprise to anyone. I'm a big fan of the 15-minute city model, and one of the parts of that is reusing buildings as much as possible when people are around, right? When kids get to school, what's the building being used for, right? Can the building be used, you know, as much as it can when people need it, and you know, and this is kind of a conversation about even if a school goes away, and that's not our decision to be made. That's a different governing body, but can we as a city work to ensure that continues to be a community center regardless of where things go? And I think that's a thing that creates hope for people because that's public space, public land. And as much as we can hold on to those.
Yes, thank you. Any additional questions or comments for Councilmember Gilman? All right, seeing none, Councilmember Vanderpool.
Yeah, so I sat on both on the Thurston Regional Planning Council and then, of course, the Transportation Policy Board this last month. I've gotten three updates. On the intercity transit system update. You know, I have it pretty much programmed in my mind now. And one day we'll have it here, hopefully, in the new year. I just want to shout out to how important that is because there'll be a lot of questions from the public about the changes, right? So for example, a route, instead of going kind of back around, it will turn into a new route, and then that feeds into another route, and then to another route. And so the system is going to have a lot of changes that will bring improvements to people. I believe it'll make it easier to getting from place to place. But I want I want folks to be able to know about those changes and look into it. So if people who are listening, please look into those presentations that have been made. Look into the Intercity Transit has if you go on there and look at route changes, I believe it's on the website. There's even a map that's been created where you can put in where the changes are. Because starting in May of next year, those changes will start rolling out, and I want folks to be aware of them and the advantages of those changes. The Transportation Policy Board also is doing a community and business representative recruitment. I'm on that subcommittee. I couldn't help myself by volunteering to another thing. I don't know why I do that. So the opening began on October 10th, and it ends on November 9th, the applications. If you're interested in that, again, that's on the Thurston Regional Planning Council website. If you're interested, reach out. We're looking for business and community reps. Get those perspectives in on the processes that we work on. And then the Thurston Regional Planning Council has we passed the legislative priorities, it was approved. Just a few items from that. The Nisqually Bridge is listed on there. This is kind of the idea of continuing to plan for shovel readiness for rail in the future, not in the next 10 years, but like something that we can plan for and put in our legislative agenda. There's items on Yelm roundabouts, federal matching funds, making sure that we're continuing to not lose ground on current projects while continuing our funding, right? Making sure that we're continuing to make the progress as a region for projects from the outer county to the cities, and just making sure we're continuing to go forward. And then Intercity Transit Authority had the community advisory, this is the CAC, oh gosh, I can't remember the acronym right now, it's too late in the day. But there was candidates for the Community Advisory Board, and there were around 30 applications, which is pretty wild. And then there was an 18-person shortlist from that. And I actually when I was looking at the list, there are people that are volunteer here at the city for either for Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee or for the Planning Commission and so on and so forth. So we have some pretty active members that are always involved, and I appreciate everything that they do around that. That's wonderful to continue to see that name. And a lot of young people that signed up, which, like, when I say young people, I mean people like right out of college, like not even out of college, like maybe 17, 18, somewhere around that age, which is great to see that participation. So yeah, that's all the items I have.
Thank you. Questions and comments for Councilmember Vanderpool? Seeing none? Thanks. Councilmember Madrone?
Just a couple of things. It's actually been about a month since I've given a report because there was a meeting I left early and then a meeting that went long and then a study session. So land use met about a month ago. Two of those things I don't need to update you on because it's the climate and housing chapters for the comp plan, and we did that last week. So you're fully updated on all that. We also made a recommendation on some code changes to the Briggs Urban Village. I know that the city manager has briefed all of you on this at some point, and it probably won't come to council until after the new year. So I won't go too deep into details, but essentially, what we have here is our first and only urban village that was kind of designed, contemplated at a time where commercial development was really strong and residential was not. And that equation has flipped since then. And so the developer there is seeking to be able to build more multifamily housing, more housing in general, but also reduce the commercial expectations for the urban village. And all of this centers around a grocery store. Just the high level of all of this is that the committee supported a kind of a blend of the Planning Commission and staff recommendation. Currently in code, there is no minimum size for a grocery store in that area, and Planning Commission had recommended 12,000 square feet just based on how big are other grocery stores. It was a little bit. Just kind of a guess of what it might have been a good amount. Our economic development director had looked through a market study that was provided and landed around 9,200 square feet. So that was the recommendation from staff. And also we learned that that's about the size of one of the food co-ops, and So we set that as the minimum for a grocery store size, and staff did recommend that that could be broken up into different food stores, but we as a committee said, no, we think that that should be one grocery store. It should be a place where people can get all the ingredients to make a meal. And another part of this is that the urban village at some point needs to have some kind of green space or plaza developed. And the trigger for that to be developed is commercial development. So that trigger is being proposed based on a staff recommendation to change to the next phase of residential development, which I think is a really good addition to what the Planning Commission had recommended. So all that is to say, this will come to us sometime in the new year. There's some very interested and engaged constituents who have been following this whole process. You know, I've asked them that they get informed as to when this comes to the full council so they can follow the process all the way through. We'll probably hear from some folks. They feel very strongly, you know, it's a community that they've invested in and that they, you know, they kind of want some of the things that they've been promised. So I'm sure we'll get more updates on this along the way. And then the other update that I have is around Thurston Regional Planning Council. First of all, Robert, thanks for attending that last meeting for me and getting that third briefing on the changes for intercity transit. My update is around the recruitment for an executive director. I've been participating on a subcommittee for interviews and all that. And we have some candidates that are going to be coming forward to the full planning council to consider. But the evening before the next TRPC meeting, there will be a community event for folks to come and meet the candidates. That will be taking place November 6th. I believe it is happening at at one of the port properties. I don't remember exactly where, but those details are forthcoming. There'll be a press release that comes out, and I can make sure that everybody has that information. If you have any interest in meeting the candidates for the next executive director of TRPC. That's my report.
Thanks, Danny. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Madrone? All right. Seeing none. Yes, Councilmember Vanderpool.
I will be there in November for you, just to clarify.
Yes, thank you for covering 2 TRPC meetings for me, Robert. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Before I go to the city manager, I just remembered to mention that earlier today, the two of us were in a meeting with Experience Olympia and Beyond to have a conversation about their plan for an interim director. So the county and I happen to agree is making the recommendation that there be an interim director to give the organization some time to stabilize itself before going back out and recruiting for another director. And we've had a frank conversation about some of our concerns and how we want to address them as a region. And so there's a commitment there to enhance our partnership between each other. And I thought things went really well in terms of the conversation. And so looking forward to how that shapes up, and hopefully we can be clear on what some expectations are going forward. Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen is our representative, obviously, until we have that discussion in January for the retreat. And then Jenica Machado also attended that meeting, and we have a conversation with the two of them about what it looks like to recruit for a new director and make sure that elected officials are looped into this process. So there was some conversation about whether or not we're welcome to be there or not. I remember there was some confusion about that. Clarifying it now, I believe I've said this before, it's settled. There is elected representation on the ELB. I have a few other comments, but I will turn it over to the city manager before we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to report.
Did I just steal it from you? All right. Well, I do just want to remind the community that we have Our next two business meetings are on Mondays, not Tuesdays. So that is Monday, November 3rd, and then Monday, November 10th, and that is due to the election. And then the following week is Veterans Day on that Tuesday, and so we'll be meeting on Monday, the 10th instead. I also want to mention that on the eve of November 3rd and November 18th, we have hearings on our operating budget, so we encourage the community to attend those hearings so that we can hear your input on the budget. So with no further business before the Olympia City Council, we're adjourned.